The opinions expressed in this podcast are the opinions of the host and his individual guests and should not be taken as any particular investment advice.
SideChain.
All right, guys, so this is actually a very, very special episode. One of my dear friends, Sandeep Goenka, a.k.a. Sunny, a.k.a. Bitcoin Sunny, one of the few Indian OGs in the crypto game. Very glad that you're here with us. And obviously, we're going to talk about borders because you were supposed to be here for this podcast and you didn't make it because of stupid visas and stupid regulations.
Yeah, and also a really long flight. And I was just thinking, compared to the number of people in India, it's pathetic that there are so few of us, in the Bitcoin space. Hopefully that'll change sometime in the future.
True, and you're doing your part. Because if anyone doesn't know, and you absolutely should know, Sunny is technically the co-founder of Zebpay, which was the largest crypto exchange in India. Now, I guess you're focused on the educational aspect. Last we talked, I know that you really wanted to dive into really spreading the awareness of Bitcoin. But I was hoping maybe you could kind of give us the background of Zebpay, how you guys started, and what's been going on with Zebpay since that time.
Sure. So we are three co-founders at Zebpay, and honestly, Maheen, one of the three co-founders, has been one of the first people in India to get involved with Bitcoins. He had an exchange before Zebpay, and he paused it for some reason in the middle. And then, and I was an angel investor. I was investing, in tech companies. And one day I just Googled Bitcoin, and coincidentally, Maheen's company, and Maheen was based in the same city that I was in. And so rather than talking to him on the phone, I just decided that we'll meet up. And so the initial conversation that started was I was looking at seeing whether I could invest some small amount of money in his company. While doing that process, of course, he introduced me to Bitcoin, and I got to know more about it. And I think since then, I kind of thought that if I'm doing anything else except Bitcoin full time, I'm wasting my time on my future. Luckily, he was looking for somebody to help him out. It's a complicated business. So we joined hands. One of my dear friends, Saurabh, also came on board, and that's how we started Zebpay. I think when we started Zebpay, really the mission was and still is, and I think will always be, is to make it easy for regular people to buy, sell, store, use Bitcoins. That remains the mission. I don't think any of us has solved that problem. I think we'll spend a few more years trying to do that. We started Zebpay in India. It really became popular. It became one of the most trusted exchanges. But I think with the success came the government's attention. I sympathize with the government. I think the concerns are genuine. I think how they react to some of these concerns are extremely short-sighted, but we'll see.
That's very well said. Yeah, that's definitely one of the larger issues that we're seeing right now. And when we're looking, I think some of the best parallels that we can draw is the first internet regulations that were coming out in the early 90s. But to be honest, I'm a little pissed off that we haven't learned our lesson and the politicians haven't learned their lesson from those early 90s internet regulations, and they can't extrapolate any lessons learned and apply it to crypto and Bitcoin in 2017, 18, 19. And it's a big problem. And we actually talked on this show before, even the Libra hearings, it doesn't matter if you're for Libra or against Libra, but the level of knowledge displayed by these politicians is very, very lacking when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And how the hell are you going to regulate something if you really don't understand the basics of it, right? It's very difficult. Go ahead.
I feel your frustration, firsthand. I was chairing the industry association in India, and I have given so many talks to various government agencies in India, including the two official committees that were set up specifically to look into virtual currencies and cryptocurrencies, and normally the time that is given is like half an hour, 1 hour. There are tough questions coming to you which have their nuances. You can't just explain them just within half an hour, 1 hour. So I've been through this. It's frustrating. I've asked for more time, and the lack of knowledge and the decisions based on that lack of knowledge are annoying. And every day you hear this blockchain bullshit all the time from everyone. In fact, I really can't blame the government, even from the private sector. I mean, from consulting companies and stuff. So I mean, I just can't blame the government. It's terrible. I think just because there are no analogies very easy analogies to explain Bitcoin, I think the problem is worse with Bitcoin than with the internet. It's far more difficult.
That's a very good point. And with the internet, with what you said, Bitcoin, it's much more difficult because there's this value that the media keeps throwing at us. 200 billion market cap, potential 1 trillion market cap coming soon, and there's this real value that's being thrown around. And I think that a lot of politicians are seeing that, and they're even more motivated to do something about it. And with the internet, it was especially early days. It's very difficult. Like, the market cap of the e-commerce in like 94, it's tiny. And comparing that to crypto, it's incomparable, essentially. Like, you can't compare the two. You're a bit of a nomad. Like, you're all over the place. We actually met, I think, like 2 years ago in Malta. That was our first meeting. We've been really good friends ever since. Do you see in your travels any government bodies that are doing a better job in understanding crypto and blockchain than the rest?
So I wasn't a nomad till India forced me to become one. So searching for better territories, I guess, to do business. I've had... no, I'm not a nomad at all. I haven't really traveled for Bitcoin much. I think I have experience with Malta, with Australia, with Singapore, with the US, and that's about it. Zebpay does have experience with a couple of European jurisdictions as well. But I think we've been really happy with the way things have evolved in Australia. I think they're doing a pretty great job over there. It's a small market, so that's the reason maybe it doesn't attract so much attention. I think Singapore is doing a great job as well. They've just declared cryptocurrencies GST or VAT free from 1st Jan, even for local trade, which was not the case, or it was not clearly defined. But from 1st Jan, there's no confusion. So I think that's a big step. They're also coming out with regulation for different type of exchanges, and not really for stock exchange, but these new type of asset exchanges. So that regulation is coming out. I think Singapore is doing a great job. I think Malta was trying to do a great job, but I think it's somewhere hindered by the EU, and it's a part of the EU. So I think somewhere they can't do as much as they would want to. US is mixed bag, but yeah, that's about it. I think if governments are confused and don't do anything right now, I think that also is good. But if they take action, it could be pseudo-legal like the way we are seeing in India, where there is no clarity on the legality of Bitcoin, but they've taken kind of pseudo-action which effectively stamps out business out of the country, by making it extremely difficult to operate. And China is the same case. I think that is terrible. But if you're confused, you're in a wait and watch process, it's fine.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and a lot of the regulations that are just are just becoming a reality in the US. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but that's one thing that I really like the US, that they had more leeway in getting more regulations passed, but they really haven't done that much. And I'm saying this in a good way. They haven't done that much in the previous years. They're kind of starting to do some stuff now. And I think that's a really good approach, what you mentioned, this kind of wait and see. Like, you don't really need to take action right off the bat, especially if you don't really know a lot about this space, So waiting and seeing and kind of, keeping your hand on the pulse and just observing is totally fine. And I wish more governments would do it. And I've seen that in 2017 when we had the ICO boom and when we had a market cap that was close to $1 trillion. That was one of the most problematic times because you're seeing something, something's value skyrocket. And I feel that governments suddenly, they feel obligated to do anything, right? And that's the worst moment. That's the worst thing that can happen is when a government feels that they should step in and they don't know how to do it, right?
Absolutely. At Zebpay, we've never celebrated any milestone, any number, because with success came, attention. Attention is fine, but misdirected attention, And honestly, I mean, for governments, it's just simple to go after the scammers. I mean, with an industry like this, of course, it attracts the scammers. The internet has attracted them. All the laws are available to go after Ponzi schemes and to go after people who cheat money or not disclosing information. They're all there. You don't need laws. You need to execute them in the right direction. And that's what we told them, that there are legitimate businesses and there are illegitimate ones. You have all the laws to go after the wrong ones. Just go after them. We have an anti-Ponzi law in India. Just go after them.
Yeah. Like a criminal is still a criminal. You don't need to make you don't need to create separate laws for a crypto criminal, right? Like it's still, the definition remains the same if there's any issues in the space. You touched upon a subject that I really want to get into because you said when the Indian government forced me out. So I kind of want to give the listeners a background to that. So if people don't know, since Zebpay was the strongest player on the Indian market, and Zebpay was created 2014, if I'm correct?
Yeah, 2015, yes.
Yeah, so
2014, 2015.
Zebpay had around 70% of the market share in India. We're talking 1.5 million customers and 3 million app downloads. So crazy numbers. So kind of give me the background. What happened since then? Because you were such a strong player, and how did everything play out to make you moved to Singapore? A lot of Zebpay moved to Singapore, and I really want you to discuss that further with us.
Sure. So actually in 2014, Zebpay did start out of Singapore itself. All the IP and the original company and everything was registered in Singapore. And the original idea was that we had made a kind of a hosted wallet as a stepping stone for new users to, start experiencing small amount of Bitcoin. So it was always, it was based out of Singapore, and we were of course always interested in launching an exchange in India. Mahin had done that in the past, but again with India, it's just that still something is not clearly defined as legal. You're always a little stressed out, just the way the country operates, right? I think we got enough confidence due to some conversations that we had with some government departments. Of course, nothing was in paper, but till the time we are clearly not doing anything illegal, which was of course never our intention, that we'd be on the right side of the law. So with that, we started the exchange, of course, full KYC and all of that, just to make sure, that we are doing everything absolutely legit. And so we started the exchange in India in 2015. Since 2015 till December 2017, of course, it's always been a roller coaster, with users, with the market, with cycles, and with, various government departments. December 2017, just like all over the world, Indian authorities again started relooking at this because of the volumes. I remember in December, we were adding about 30,000 KYC users every single day.
Wow.
We were among the top 10 apps, both in Android and on the App Store. It was crazy. And
cutting out a bit.
Term in December for about 15 days. Sorry.
Take it back one sentence because the internet cut out.
Yeah.
Just one sentence.
Sure.
Back.
So, sure. In December 2017, we were also, Zebpay was the most searched term on the Apple App Store. Bitcoin was like the 9th most searched term. So we'd almost become synonymous with Bitcoin in India. Everything was going great till April 2018. That's when the RBI released a circular preventing RBI as the central bank of India, and they basically made it. They informed all banks that they could not deal with crypto businesses, and according to us, that's an illegal way to prevent regular people from doing business. So then we got the industry together, and we've filed a case against the central bank in the Supreme Court. That case is being heard since about a year. Unfortunately, there are no conclusions, but we are fighting that case. According to us, it's hampering a right to do business. Bitcoin is legal in the country, and this is an illegal notification.
Yeah,
so since then.
No, sorry, I just wanted to say that essentially your business was being discriminated against.
Yeah, that's the case against the central bank. And so since then, Zebpay always wanted to be an extremely reputed company. So we took a very tough decision. We were the first exchange, and of course the largest one, to voluntarily stop exchange business, because we were like, if the government doesn't want it and if they've clearly shown the intent through some notification, we won't do business at a massive cost to our users and to us, of course. And since then, we just thought we'll fight it, and then we'll, the day we know that we have something in paper that says that we can do this business, we'll start again. Also, what happened because of this notification, although it's not a law, is that various government agencies interpret it as Bitcoin being illegal. So it's extremely difficult to do business, and without the banks and no support, it's almost impossible. So we paused Zebpay in India. The wallet still runs. And then we started looking at, we always wanted to take Zebpay outside India. We just started doubling down on those efforts. So Zebpay now runs out of Australia. We have a global exchange out of Australia, and we are looking at some other countries as well.
It's incredible that a country can decide that Bitcoin is illegal when essentially, I don't think, maybe I'm mistaken, but I can't really think of any country that would suddenly say, hey, cash is illegal. You can't conduct anything in cash. So, with that thinking, having Bitcoin illegal is it's preposterous to me, and something that I totally don't understand. So you're running Zebpay now out of Australia. Obviously, there's offices in Singapore as well. What are the next steps for Zebpay?
So interestingly, just literally this week, the three co-founders have handed over the entire management to one of our investors, one of our major investors, Rahul. And I think this is literally, I think some of my family members don't know about it. So
we're closer than family, Sunny.
I guess we are. Bitcoin keeps us close. We do have some idea about Rahul's plans for Zebpay. Rahul is extremely bullish about Bitcoin in India. Definitely is completely on his radar. Rahul is also one of the largest investors in Brave browser and BAT token. I think he's trying to do some things together, maybe with Zebpay and the BAT token. I'm not really sure. So I'm not. I mean, besides the fact that it's going to be an exchange and he wants to relaunch it in India, I'm not really sure what other plans that he has. But from today, it's Zebpay is his baby, and the three co-founders have stepped out of management.
Okay. If anyone's listening and watching, I know the internet cut out a bit. So Sunny just said that Rahul, who's one of the main investors in Zebpay, is taking over, and he's also one of the largest investors in the Brave browser and the basic attention token BAT that is used in the Brave browser. So there's potentially some possibility of connecting maybe the BAT token and Zebpay in the future, but we're still, we're not, Sunny and I, we're not privy to his plans exactly. So, it's a bit of a guessing game, but, it might be interesting. Obviously, like in my opinion, it's going to be very, very beneficial to India in general if Zebpay is fully functioning again, because one of the worst things I believe is if a country doesn't have a legitimate, easy access to cryptocurrencies, I think it's very problematic. I think that the 20th and 21st century have displayed that if you cut off an alternative to money, for the people in a given country, you're controlling their livelihood. And I've mentioned this before on the show. Every time I see, because I'm a dual citizen, I have an American citizenship and I have a Polish citizenship, and whenever I see either of those countries, going a bit too much to the extreme with their populist governments, that's when I essentially buy more Bitcoin, I buy more crypto, because I see this as a form of hedge against those countries, imposing their will onto me. So I think it's very, very important for all countries, but especially, developing nations like various African nations and India, because if you control the money, you control the country. And if the people don't control the money, I think it's very, very problematic. So, Sunny, I kind of want to talk about if you have any plans, what you're going to be doing after everything. All the deals are signed in Zebpay. You can finally, sleep. You don't have to worry about any shitty regulations or countries that don't know what they're doing. What's next for Bitcoin Sunny?
I've got a lot of time to think about this over the last month and a half. I'm doubling down on Bitcoin. What happened, for me, the exchange was a way to spread Bitcoin. And unfortunately, with the altcoin mania, this was completely distracted. And we had a lot of internal debates as well. And of course, when you're running an exchange, you have to serve the market. You have to list more tokens because everybody's doing it. But honestly, I was, with all my understanding about Bitcoin and altcoins, and I've, not superficially, at a very deep level, I never believed in any of the altcoins at all. And it was at a very personal, fundamental level, a little painful for me that we were offering as a business products which I individually did not believe, but with co-founders and investors, and there are a lot of more people involved in decision making, especially when you are running an exchange. So I think now, in fact, it gives me the opportunity to be independent, to spread Bitcoins without having a vested interest, so to say. Also, I think when I was talking to the government, because I was the co-founder of an exchange, I was also always looked with suspicion, So I think two things that I really want to do is I want to focus on Bitcoin education in the right way, and I have some plans around it. I'm thinking more and more about it. I also want to double down. I want to go back to my industry association and tell them, like literally maybe after this call, give those guys a call and tell them I'm not a part of Zebpay anymore. And now I can lead this much more independently and with a lot more integrity and talk to the government. So I can kind of double down on that. Also, I continue to be a Bitcoin maximalist. So if there are any Bitcoin maximalist companies out there, I'm looking for a job. So, yeah.
How can people reach you if anyone sees this and they want to connect? Twitter?
Yes, Twitter is the best way. Yes.
Twitter. What's your handle? Let's get that out of the way right now.
It's at Goenka Sandeep, GOENKA SANDEEP at Goenka Sandeep.
Or I'm pretty sure if you just if you search for Bitcoin Sunny, I think it's gonna pop up in Twitter.
I don't know why I just changed my profile name from Sunny Bitcoin to Sandeep Goenka today. I think I'll change it back now after this podcast.
Yeah,
so,
you
I think
should.
Sunny Bitcoin is good.
Bitcoin Sunny is one of the best things. Okay, Adam, the maestro behind all of the technical aspects here, just quickly searched on Twitter, and if you just type in Bitcoin Sunny, it pops out. So you can just type in Bitcoin Sunny, SUNNY, and you can connect with Sunny and talk Bitcoin. So you're actually you're very interesting from my perspective, because I know a lot of Bitcoin maximalists who very proudly wear the Bitcoin maximalist flag, but on the down low they have some Ether, maybe some Litecoin, maybe some other stuff. Are you 100% in Bitcoin and just Bitcoin, and you don't even care about EOS, Ethereum, nothing else? It's just 100% Bitcoin?
I have 100% Bitcoin. I had a few Ethereum till about last year, extremely small. I converted that back to Bitcoin and I sold all my Ethereum. 100% Bitcoin, 100% time, 100% business. Yeah.
Incredible.
I just absolutely.
So are you one of those people on Reddit that are arguing with me and saying like, sell your Ethereum, Bitcoin rules? Are you one of those?
I've debated with myself because a lot of times I diss central banking or other altcoins and stuff. And I think I've decided that rather than talking about anything else, and I kind of tweeted about this, that I'm not going to diss anything out there. I'm just going to talk about Bitcoin.
Okay.
I think that's what I know. That's what I understand. And maybe I'm wrong about other things, but about Bitcoin, I'm absolutely right. So I've stopped doing that. I used to do that a lot in the past.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but it's Bitcoin. I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I was thinking about altcoins in more of an investment perspective, I guess. And I was just doing some menial task. I don't even remember what, just, doing some chores around the house. And I'm thinking inflation, I'm thinking deflation, and I'm thinking that in the end, I only really trust Bitcoin, even though I have other coins, I've made other investments. At the very end of the day, Bitcoin is the shining example that I know what the plan is. I know it's deflationary, 21 million coins, and that's absolutely it. And a lot of these protocols that are, a lot of blockchains and protocols that are continuously being developed, like I can't really tell you, for example, what the inflation rate of EOS is, because I know it was supposed to be around 5% even, but that was supposed to be defined by the block producers. However, I know that the block producers, their power has been very greatly limited in the last few months. So I have some tiny EOS, like it's not even substantial, but in an investment perspective, I have no idea if it's a good investment, I have it just because I need the coins to support my wallets, but I have no idea what the end game is. And Bitcoin is the only example where I know that if a large portion of my assets are in Bitcoin, I know I can sleep easily. And I know that's a very lacking part in different projects. Even Ethereum, I have some questions regarding Ethereum, with the Ether 2.0, with the proof of stake, how everything's changing. I don't know what the new total supply of the coin is. So I know what you mean about focusing on Bitcoin because it really is the best example of cryptocurrency and mass adoption that we have for right now.
Yeah, I think for me, the difference between Bitcoin and everything else is it's much more than the way you kind of mentioned it. I mean, for me, they're not even the same industry or the same thing. I hate. I hate to say that Bitcoin. I hate to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in the same breath.
Wow.
Just like you would not use the internet with anything else like LAN in the same breath. So for me, Bitcoin is so far ahead, like not 10x or 100x. It's just infinitely far ahead than anything else, even Ethereum. That for me, everything else is simply uninteresting and a waste of my time. I've had a lot of technical discussions, just longer discussions about Ethereum, even with my co-founder Maheen, and he's my tech co-founder. I'm not even a techie. I learned a bit of Python so that I could understand the Bitcoin blockchain, but I'm not really a techie, and I've never been convinced. And so to each, I understand Bitcoin. I get it. I've got it from from the first few days that I kind of got introduced to it. I don't understand anything else. So either it's a lack of my understanding or Bitcoin is far ahead. I'm not really sure, but we'll see it being played out. I meet people again just from the point of view of investing. I make sure that I tell them that do not invest in anything that you don't understand. And besides Bitcoin, everything else is even far more difficult to understand, just like the way you put it. So from an investment point of view, I would ask investors to be extremely cautious with everything else, and of course, including Bitcoin if they don't understand it.
That's a very good point. What we have here is something very, very interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on this since we both have experience in the exchange business, and we've seen a lot of hacks on exchanges. 2019 was absolutely brutal for a lot of exchanges, and I'm not just talking hacks. I'm talking, just people being run out of business. It's not really an easy industry. This isn't 2014, 2015, 2016 anymore, where you could just basically set up a web page with some shitty security and make a ton of money. Where do you think the exchange sector in crypto is going?
I think one of the, of course, the number of hacks have increased also because the number of exchanges have increased, maybe. I don't know if the number of hacks have also increased because of this altcoin phenomena, because now exchanges have to manage, all these shitty coins and their protocols.
50, 100, 150 trading pairs even. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's your tech team's precious resources gone in supporting all these shitty coins rather than improving security, maybe with just Bitcoin, and a fantastically secured protocol, not being able to offer multi-sig to your users and not being able to, focus time on that. So that's something to think about. Just today, I read an article that one of UK's oldest exchanges has decided to delist.
This. Yeah.
I just retweeted it. I'm like, I hope this is the future of exchanges.
So if anybody didn't read, UK's oldest exchange just announced they're discontinuing any support for any cryptocurrency that isn't Bitcoin. So I don't. Do you remember the name of the exchange? Because I don't.
No, I forgot.
Okay, but it's only Bitcoin trading, nothing else. No Zcash, no Monero, no Ether, no Litecoin, no nothing. Just Bitcoin. So are you going to be writing them now? Like, hey guys, you want to do something together?
No, I think they're already doing the right thing, so they don't need me, But no, that's my dream. I think I strongly believe that, eventually this kind of this thing will ride out and everybody will realize this truth that it's Bitcoin, it's the internet, everything else is something else. Not Bitcoin, and there'll be an entire infrastructure there to support only Bitcoin. I would never believe, nobody would ever believe this maybe say 2 or 3 years back, but it has happened. Maybe one-off case, but I think it's going to be a growing trend. I think in the end, I feel users, and I think there's a lot that needs to be done over here, that users need to look at exchanges just as a way to buy and sell and remove their coins and keep it with them. And that's it. That's what I'm going to tell. That's what I tell people when they used to ask me questions about Zebpay. I used to tell them Zebpay is a place for you to buy and sell, not to keep your Bitcoins. We provide that as a facility. We don't want you to use it. Use your hardware wallets, use your own wallets.
Yeah. And actually that's one thing that is really funny to me, because people, obviously exchanges by definition, what you're doing on an exchange is you're trading, and to me, the word trading, it really, it implies a volume of transactions, right? But for me personally, I've used exchanges for the past few years as basically an on and off ramp, and actually predominantly an on ramp of just, converting my fiat into crypto and just holding the crypto, right? And I think that a lot of exchanges, what we're going to see is more people behaving this way. It's just an on ramp. You're breaking into the crypto sector and, leaving your fiat behind, getting crypto and holding your crypto, right?
Yeah, I really hope that there is something that comes up which has a much easier integration with your wallets and the exchanges, so that as soon as the transaction is done, because most people are really lazy, and that's going to be impossible to, or they also lack the technical expertise to do this, So I think it's our responsibility to make this work in a way that users don't have to think about. And these are all the things that's going to be my focus. These are the kind of projects I'm going to look for, maybe fund, maybe be a part of.
I think we need like a really kick-ass wallet that's easy to use. Oh, sorry. Sorry, go ahead. Say the last sentence, because I thought you were done.
Yeah, no, just I want to look at projects which kind of maintains and expands on the Bitcoin ethos for regular users, where they
Yeah.
maintain their own node, they're not dependent on anyone, and they maintain their own private keys and stuff like that. And I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah, we need a wallet that really tackles the private and the private key and the public address a bit better. And this is one thing where I've mentioned before. EOS does a great job of this, but unfortunately, what EOS is doing currently a good job with $4 billion in the bank, it kind of just ends there. Is simple words, just I think it's 12 letters. You can do, Sunny, Bitcoin, if that's going to be 12 letters, not going to count right now. And that can be your EOS wallet, right? And I think Bitcoin or crypto in general really needs a wallet solution that kind of leans that way, where it's not, 48 alphanumeric characters that no one's going to remember. You need something that, for mass adoption, you really need something that I can show to anyone on the street and tell them, you sign up, like Revolut, like a lot of these, I just plug in my phone number, you can send me money right to my phone. Not, you don't need to worry about IBANs, you don't need to worry about SWIFT or anything else. You can just really, you're breaking down the point of entry for a lot of people that way.
Absolutely. I think there are so many problems that are to be solved, and who are the best people who can solve them, right? People like you and me who've been in the industry. I think it's a little jaded to think that everything will be done by somebody else. I don't know. At some point, I kind of realized that no, we are the ones who are responsible for this. To educate users, to make it easier for them. And I really want to kind of just continue doing that. I mean, Zebpay was of course one way. But there are so many more things to be done. And I'm reading interesting proposals, and there are people thinking about it. We need more people to do that.
Yeah, and I sent you the info about the Aleph Zero guys, remember? Like, they're doing some really cool stuff. So that's another thing to watch out for. And I really respect the people that are... I mentioned in the first episode that we recorded with Jason King, I mentioned that
great guy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. He's an amazing dude, really. And you were supposed to be here, by the way. We were supposed to have a 3-person podcast, you, me, and Jason, and we still need to get that on the books. So we need to get you here in person so we can get that done. But what I want to mention is that I have a lot of respect for people that are really diving into, the protocols, the nitty gritty, the stuff that, let's be honest, like what's going to make the first page of CoinDesk if you run an exchange and you get hacked, or you have a new partnership with, somebody from the old financial world. That's what's going to make the headlines. You're rarely going to see headlines from guys, and I know there's a lot of companies like the guys from Aleph Zero who are really doing a lot of kick-ass work in developing the protocols that are going to be used in the next 10, 20, 30 years, and they're going to be building this new model of blockchains and crypto, and implementing existing solutions from Ethereum and from Bitcoin, and just kind of making it more accessible in a way. So I have a lot of respect for them. I have a really difficult question for you now, and I really want to get your thoughts, especially since you're breaking off your ties with Zebpay finally. So I think you can be a bit more open in your response. Where do you think exchanges are going from here? Because as we talked about a few minutes ago, 2019 was very, very difficult. It was incredibly difficult. And I think it showed an oversaturation of exchanges on the market. And actually, when I was in Singapore about a year ago, I want to say, because it was Block Show 2018 in November. I remember I think she's the head of marketing for CoinMarketCap. She actually said that in 2018, they had more requests for exchanges to be added than for coins and tokens, which is unbelievable.
Right. It is a difficult question because the way these things evolve, or what has happened. I thought I'm starting a Bitcoin exchange, and then suddenly it became a crypto exchange. I was like,
they cheated you out of your Bitcoin exchange.
I would never be. I would never even be able to imagine or predict the ICO and these altcoin things.
Yeah.
I mean, I was getting into Bitcoin. I think exchanges. I think they're just gonna evolve like the way they are. Maybe exchanges will combine, like we have commodity exchanges and you have security exchanges, and then you have these crypto exchanges. I feel that altcoins, I'm always confused how to define altcoins. Are they more security? But then sometimes I do feel that they have utility. They are being used as a token to do something more like points or miles and stuff like that.
So like a loyalty program almost. Yeah.
Exactly. Even like your token, it is like a point system and stuff like that. It's just that those tokens in the past could never be exchanged freely and they did not have liquidity, and this technology or whatever, actually it's not even the technology, just whatever has happened, it enables these things to get listed. So I think exchanges, I don't think they're going to change more now really in the future. I think maybe a few of them dominate globally with some local partnerships, and they offer Bitcoin, which will dominate the volume, and then a host of other coins like a long tail.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it's already happening. I really hope for some Bitcoin only or exchanges to become really big, and people would use them simply because of the security level that they could provide, maybe with some integration, but that could be done with a normal exchange as well. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to change a lot compared to where they are right now.
You know who I think wins in the next 2-3 years? I think the person, and I say wins obviously in quotes, but the institution that's going to win is the first prominent bank, like fiat classic bank, that allows you to buy Bitcoin directly through them. I think that's going to be a game changer if it happens.
I think they have such a massive opportunity that it is so stupid that they're
not doing anything.
They're not doing anything. I think just today only I read Fidelity is, I think, one of the few players which is, going after institutional buyers and everything. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
They're focusing on Europe, by the way. I don't know if you saw this morning.
Europe,
yeah. Pomp just tweeted.
Exactly. I'm talking about the same article.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as one kind of starts in the next boom cycle, when they show amazing volumes and profit, I think it's going to open the floodgates. And I expected something like that to happen in the last boom cycle, but for sure, I think in the next one, things are going to fundamentally change.
It's really interesting, and I think when we're talking about you doing something in the near future, you should look at Europe. I forget the exact phrasing, but there's a regulation that's coming into effect in the European Union, I think with the 1st of January of 2020. So, a few days. And it essentially says that if an exchange or crypto business, I think it's a cryptocurrency business is the wording, if you are a licensed player, it is your right to have banking. Like if you are licensed, then banks have to accept you.
That is amazing. That's sensible, and I would love.
That's a huge first step. I don't remember how exactly if it's going to be if you're licensed in the particular country or if it's going to be like for example, obviously CoinDeal, we're still pursuing our Maltese license. So I'm curious if whether this Maltese license will allow us to have no problem banking in just Malta, or if it's also going to open the doors in Switzerland, Liechtenstein, France, and what have you. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and what the exact phrasing is. But it's still something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any of these tools and ways and methods just keeps absolutely helping. I'm amazed that this has happened. The problem with banking has been that banks are in direct competition with Bitcoin. And I think that's kind of become this really weird situation where crypto exchanges are not being, and also because of the regulation that they've, it's just become crazy for them to support anything which is out of the normal as a business, which was... I think they are
Take it back a sentence.
Okay.
Banking.
Yeah, I think with the banks, thing. Yeah, I think banks. It's a bit like telecom companies trying to support the internet. In 1990s, I think banks kind of do realize that they are competing with Bitcoin, and so they don't want to support it because they'll hasten its progress or its adoption. But then at the same time, they lose the opportunity, which is a weird situation.
If we look at it historically, then you have who are the largest internet service providers, ISPs? Telecom companies, right? Poland is this way. A lot of Europe is this way. The largest players in the U.S. It's Verizon, AT&T. It's you can't have one without the other these days. That's why I really think that the sooner banks get their shit together and start offering or supporting crypto, I think offering would be the best. I'm not a really big fan of banks, so I don't really know if I would trust getting my Bitcoin from, like Santander or BNP Paribas. But I think it would be a great first step, and I think it would be a great added revenue stream for a lot of banks. Because if I tell like my family members, like my uncle, my mom, my dad, if I tell them, hey, sign up on this exchange, give us your, all your KYC information, they might not do it. But if suddenly they have a pop-up whenever they log in to pay their bills and it says, hey, Bitcoin is now available, it builds Bitcoin's credibility if banks start to offer it. And I think that would be huge for mass adoption, because you're going to have a lot of people, in their 40s, 50s, 60s that by themselves would never go to, coindeal.com or kraken.com and, just go through the process of KYC and doing everything over again. But if a bank offers it, oh my God, I think, I always ask, what are the keys to mass adoption? And now just having this conversation with you, I think it's exactly this: banks offering Bitcoin. I think that would be unparalleled in terms of mass adoption.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people who are really hardcore Bitcoin fundamentalists kind of are against any of these ideas, like even when we launched Zebpay and, it was a custodian wallet. And of course, I mean, we kind of we knew that this is not, we want the users to keep the keys. But when you make it easy, when 1 million users come and when they buy Bitcoins and then they read about it, at least a percentage of them will then, educate themselves further and go to the next step. So banks offering Bitcoins is a step one. Then we can educate them to, for step 2 and step 3. So absolutely, I'm always pro for all of these things.
And that's one thing. It's good that you mentioned this, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people in the crypto space and Bitcoin maximalists that are probably pulling their hair out right now when we're talking about this. But that's one thing. If a bank offers Bitcoin, and I really want to get this out there, if we're talking about banks offering Bitcoin, it doesn't really take away from the Bitcoin space. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not only banks offer Bitcoin or no banks offer Bitcoin. It's always a mixed bag. So whenever, I know I'm going to have conversations about this now in the next, few months. I know there's going to be Bitcoin maximalists that are going to just say, how dare you say that banks should offer Bitcoin? But it's, the fact that a bank would offer Bitcoin, it's not taking away from Zebpay offering Bitcoin, local Bitcoins offering Bitcoin, or CoinDeal offering Bitcoin. It's just another funnel through which people can get coins and learn about crypto. So I don't really... I hope I'm not going to have this argument, because you know how crazy Bitcoin maximalists get.
I think what they're worried about is the centralization and the obscenely huge number of Bitcoins are then stored with few entities. Like,
yes.
There are some estimates that Coinbase has a huge amount of Bitcoins, and then they really have the power to, if something happens to them, then it can fundamentally change the economics of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
And I think that's a valid concern. Anyways, the beauty about these things is you can't decide who can or who cannot offer Bitcoins.
Yep.
Everybody can. So you can give your opinions. You have nothing else you can do about it.
Yeah. And oh man, I lost my train of thought. But So what I wanted to say is, but even if if a bank would offer Bitcoin, I have the same suggestion to those people that if they want to use an exchange to get Bitcoin, which is get the Bitcoin and get it off that service.
Always.
Do not keep, the classic Andreas Antonopoulos quote, I'm about to get the t-shirt, is not your keys, not your coins. It's very simple. It's like all I'm saying is find an on-ramp of your choosing to get the coins and get them out. Get them to any personal wallet you have where you are in full control of your finances.
Absolutely. And I really want to make a mark in this kind of, in this space where I play a role in educating users or making it easier for users to do this. I don't know how, but I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to do this. One of the things that I'm also working on, and again, this is because you kind of mentioned banks, is trying to set up a fund, mostly out of Singapore, where users, most users. Well, I want most users to look at Bitcoins as a long-term investment, that they just buy it and they forget about it, and I've seen from my experience that a lot of HNIs and, they just don't have the bandwidth to kind of store their Bitcoins. And no matter how much you kind of spend time with them, they'll give some computer engineer within the company the access to the keys, or, their 16-year-old son is then taking care of it. And that's at least vastly more dangerous than authorized or somebody legit who's kind of trying to do that. So again, a Bitcoin fundamentalist would kind of say that these funds and you taking over the keys and everything is it's against the Bitcoin ethos, while you are on the podcast and you're trying to say that you're going to go in that direction. But I just kind of feel that these are all stepping stones and it's a journey.
Yep, exactly that. So, I'm never going to have arguments regarding things like mass adoption. I think the mass adoption is the end goal, and the means by which we achieve it is all secondary.
Yeah. I know for a fact that if my plans for this fund kind of go ahead, whoever my accredited investors are, I'm going to spend time with them to educate them about the keys, maybe get a multi-sig wallet, and just to take them on that journey. But if I say that on day one, they are never going to get into the ecosystem. That has to be a day 2, day 3 conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a very valid point. But I really like the fact that you want to be hands-on with these investors. That it's one thing to take someone's money, and it's another reason to take someone's money and then hold their hand every step of the way, explaining Bitcoin and educating about blockchain and why it's important. So more power to you, my man.
I think it's the only thing that I do which makes me come alive. So I'm doing it for myself. I love doing this. The business aspects, the money-making aspects are all a part of the journey. But honestly, the world needs Bitcoin far more than the world realizes it. I think one of the unfortunate experiences of getting involved in Bitcoin is the realization how screwed the global economic system is.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're never happy about the future. You're just always so stressed out about it. So my daughter, when I tell such a gloomy picture to my daughter, she's like, "Oh my God, you must be really stressed out about this, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's been one of the biggest pains of being in Bitcoin."
Like the last few years, exactly. I remember pre-Bitcoin, the cliche that ignorance is bliss has never been so adequate. Before Bitcoin, I was like, everything's fine. So the market crashes once every few years, and then you start really getting into Bitcoin, into crypto, and you're thinking, oh my God, the value of the dollar has dropped 97% in the last, 80 years. Inflation sky high, negative interest rates. And everyone that took macroeconomics knows that the closer you get to zero in interest rates, the worse it is. And now you have Japan, who has negative interest rates for the past, 5 years, I think, or no, even longer. I think it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
And negative interest rates, sorry, but if a country offers negative interest rates, something is seriously fucked.
Yeah. And the worst thing is that the world thinks that capitalism is not working because the whole system is capitalism, but it's not working. But the problem is the world does not realize that we are actually in a socialist system. We are not. If it would be true capitalism, if interest rates were defined by market,
Okay, guys, so the NSA tracked Sunny's location down. They totally interrupted the podcast. They blue screened our computer. They don't want us talking Bitcoin. They don't want us talking about crypto. So we're being censored, I believe.
I do have this small those hooks to cover the video camera.
Are you one of those people that also covers the microphone port with a piece of tape?
No, I also tried covering the, my iPhone camera. No, I'm in the middle. I'm practical, but I'm paranoid.
Yeah, that's a good combination, practical but paranoid. I mean, because you are being listened to. You know, something really funny happened to me recently. I was in my car and I was going to a volleyball game, right? And I was listening, and this is the best part. If it was a new podcast, then it would be okay. But I was listening to an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast with he was interviewing a trainer from TriStar from an MMA gym, and it was the first time since I was driving I didn't skip over the ads, right? So in my car you can hear all of the ads, and one of the ads was for a coffee called Four Sigmatic, which is a coffee that has like lion's mane mushroom, and it's supposed to be really good for your cognitive ability, right? I've never Googled this product. I've never seen an ad for this product. The only thing that happened was I was listening to the ad in my car with my phone present. And this was Sunday, right? All of my ads from Monday morning on Facebook and on Google are Four Sigmatic. Like, and this is a podcast from 2 months ago, right? This isn't a marketing campaign that they start. Like, this is an old episode. So this is like really, really weird.
Maybe a couple of years back, I wouldn't believe these things, but now I'm sure that, it's happening. Enough shit out there, which you've seen, unfortunately, being in Bitcoin and all of these things, and that you know that this is happening, which is really terrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like your data is everywhere.
Absolutely.
So data and data protection. And let's talk about this. So no Monero, no Zcash. What are your thoughts on privacy coins?
I think they help in kind of experimentation with what can happen with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But I maybe they have some privacy features, but they don't have a lot of what else is required to become Bitcoin. So we can learn from them. I mean, we can just the internet can learn from a fantastically functioning LAN. You first get 100 Gbps, 100 Mbps on a LAN, and then we got it on the internet, and that's how things happen. Yeah. We can learn from these things. Also, a lot of the way that they get these privacy features is because of some compromise as well. Maybe in terms of capacity or the simplicity or if you get that kind of level of privacy, in some cases you won't be able to audit the number of coins. So there's always a compromise. So it's not that simple. If it would be that simple, it would be in Bitcoin. It will be in Bitcoin.
Yeah, but I do think that some more advanced privacy features would be very, very beneficial to Bitcoin.
They're coming.
Yeah, it's inevitable. Like, I know that's one thing, and I've been saying this for a long time, that don't judge Bitcoin by what it is right now, even though what it is right now and what it's achieved, it's incredible, right? But Bitcoin is continuously evolving, and any discussions that it doesn't scale, like, it doesn't scale until it does, right? Like, that's how it was with the internet. That's how it is going to be with crypto. But if Bitcoin fully realizes its potential and all of the BIPs, all of the Bitcoin improvement protocols that are, planned come into play, then you're really not going to need anything. And especially, like, I know I'm a bit of a dick, but I say this especially always looking at Litecoin. Because, like, Litecoin is just one of those things that, like, I just, like, especially in 2020, I just don't understand it at all, Like,
It's actually surprising that we even have to tell people that don't judge Bitcoin by what it is today. I mean, it is technology. It is not atoms and molecules that it's fixed. I mean, everybody's seen the internet. So it's unbelievable that we have to give this analogy of the internet. I think it's you have to do that when people really have not got it because it's not their day-to-day business like it is for you and me. It's just something on the side, and so you have to explain to them. So I get that. Just like the way you could not judge the internet with text messages in 1997 or something like that. You can't judge them.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we were talking about Spotify and streaming 4K videos in the late 90s, like it's like the infrastructure isn't there, right?
So fax machines were better than connecting to the internet at that time. My family business was in exports. There was a telex and a fax machine, and it was amazing. I mean, at that point of time, they worked better than the internet, than email. Because
but if you would tell them now, like, hey man, you want to connect later? Yeah, just send me a fax. Like, they're gonna look at you like you're an idiot. Like just page me, page me, and we can call each other.
I actually do bank with a bank in Singapore that still accepts instructions. I think only on fax.
That's amazing. And another thing is, I remember when I was in college in DC. My dad is he's really into triathlons and like marathons, triathlons. And I remember that he called me one day. He's like, Alex, do you have checks? I mean, like, I'm like, banking checks, like what you see in movies? Like, I think so. I've never used one. I think my bank just gave me one when I opened an account. He's like, I really need one because there's this race. I think it was like in Chicago or something, and they only accept like the fee, the listing fee to participate in the race. He had to send a check from Poland to Chicago in order to take part in this race. Like, how backwards is that? This was 2009, 2010.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just two things, right? The way the global economic system works and the way banking works, Bitcoin doesn't even need to change for it to succeed. I mean, even the way it currently is, just the way that is, this will win.
Yeah.
But the problem is that this is going to improve exponentially. So, when people ask me what I think about Bitcoin, especially in a bear cycle, they're trying to recheck whether I still think the way like I used to talk to them in 2015.
They want to see whether your position fluctuates with Bitcoin's price, essentially.
Exactly. And I tell them that I'm not very sure of many things in the world, but it is unbelievable how sure I am about Bitcoin. For me, it's almost, it's a fraction of a decimal less than 100, just because I can't say 100.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean.
Phenomenal.
Are you in any classic stock market? Like, are you in like, like the New York Stock Exchange? Like, are you buying any shares in companies, or are you just 100% Bitcoin? Are you in the old financial world as well? Like, maybe just a bit?
I am in the old financial world. My father is an investor. Mm-hmm. He's in the old financial world. I take the risky bet on Bitcoin, but I know that in spite of believing in it 100%, I know that I can do that because I know that there is my family wealth assets in traditional instruments. And so Maheen and my co-founder Maheen, and we talk about this a lot. And it doesn't matter even if I believe in Bitcoin 100%. It's just I try to follow the principle of diversification, not in cryptos, not within cryptos. Okay. But gold, stocks, bonds, and I'm having a hard time, forcing myself to diversify because of the way I believe in Bitcoin. But I do that.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't want to be foolish. I have kids. I'm not foolish, but I just cannot take even 1% chance about anything.
Yeah, you're in a bit of a different situation than I am because I actually I exited the classic stock market in wait, I want to get this right. I fully exited the classic stock market in the second quarter of 2017, if I remember correctly. So perfect moment, because right before, 20,000 Bitcoin price. But I haven't looked back since, when if I want to put money into a sure thing, I put it in Bitcoin. And if I feel like I want to gamble, and I say, gamble with air quotes, I put it into Zcash, Monero, Ethereum, or Nano, because I believe in those projects, but I know that I'm not as sure as I am with Bitcoin, essentially. I'm not saying I'm never going to come back to the traditional stock market, but I just think that anything that I put into Bitcoin now, I'm more confident. I know that no single government can really mess this up. Even if you look at what Trump's been doing in his war with China and the trade war, the stock market, it's just so people talk shit about crypto because it's a small market cap. You have potential whales that are really detrimental to the price and stability. But in the financial world, you have a stupid tweet from a head of a bank or a government body or some stupid law, and it reacts just the same, even though the market cap is trillions of dollars and not billions, right? So you're not protected either way.
Oh, absolutely. It hurts, when people call things to, give Bitcoin names and a bad rep about volatility. I mean, it's bullshit. And the way the stock markets are controlled, it's a completely socialist way.
Yeah.
Like the way I mentioned, it's absolutely manipulated, and it's terrible. The only reason. So one is the only reason I kind of think is that governments will inflate the hell out of stocks before fiat currencies, maybe eventually die or transition into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to do that, I might as well enjoy some of that bull run. But that's the reason.
So what do you think about all these projects putting the euro on the blockchain, or a lot of these fiat currencies that are making this transition onto blockchain?
It's not going to happen. So one is, first of all, I don't know what this means. I mean, is the current US dollar, which runs through the banking system, different than what they're saying?
Yeah.
If it is already digital and what they're saying is they'll launch a digital US dollar, then it already exists.
Exactly.
If they're saying that they're going to put it in a very slow, inefficient database, which can do very few transactions, then it cannot support it. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to get started. I don't know what they're talking about. It's like having conversation about different things which have absolutely make no sense to me. I read it. I turn the page now. I don't think about it. It's not going to happen. It's bullshit. It's useless.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's actually that kind of reverberates my thoughts regarding Libra right now, because this is something I don't agree with. I don't think Libra is a cryptocurrency. I actually think that the majority of coins and tokens that we define as cryptocurrency are not cryptocurrency by definition. I just don't think that's the way, and just saying that, hey, we're going to run. I don't know what a lot of governments are doing when they're saying that they're going to put, fiat on the blockchain. But if it's like a private Ethereum node and they're running it through that, and it's like, hey, it's on the blockchain now. It's like, guys, come on. It's not really.
I'm tired of these conversations. I hate them. I didn't even bother looking at Libra. I am only interested in Bitcoin. Hope one of these projects succeeds. I don't care. They'll never match.
Sonny does not give a fuck.
I don't give a damn. Even if they succeed, they will be in orders of magnitude way less important, way less in their impact than Bitcoin. So I don't care.
What do you think is the future of money in terms of, let's let's speed up the clock to, let's say, 2040, 2050, right? So it's a nice round number, 20, 30 years in the future. My personal opinion is I think we're going to see this dual model of fiat currencies, but just basically everyone accepting some form of crypto, probably Bitcoin. I think you're going to be able to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, but I don't really see this transition that a lot of maximalists have in their mind, where fiat will just, be run into the ground. There will be no fiat and everything will be Bitcoin. Like, I can't really see that, but maybe I have a different take.
No, I love this question. So, according to me, I think the world, and some great books, right? Bitcoin Standard, which really talk about the history of money before they really get to talk about Bitcoin.
Andreas does a great job at this too in Internet of Money.
Absolutely, and I think it's 5,000 years of debt. I've read I think more books on money than on Bitcoin, because it's actually far more important to understand money before you understand Bitcoin.
Very true.
I think human civilization has gone through cycles of being on fiat money and commodity money, or money which is not controlled by centralized authorities. You could call it commodity money, or it's Bitcoin, or whatever.
Some kind of supplementary model to the existing government one. Mm-hmm.
Yes, which the supply cannot be controlled or inflated and stuff like that. And I think we've gone through cycles. I think since starting from 1918, really since 1970, after we went off the gold standard, we're in a cycle of fiat money. Then the world realizes the pain. This painful period, and then we again go back to a better standard. So I really feel that we are coming closer and closer to the end of this current fiat.
No worries.
I'd given a warning not to call me, but current fiat system. And so I do think that we'll go back to a gold similar standard, which I think will be powered by Bitcoin. Now, coming to your point that where fiat currencies or country sovereign currencies will run, and yes, but for me they will be layer 2, layer 3, and they will be pegged to a standard like Bitcoin. So, I mean, from that point of view, are they really, as soon as a currency is pegged to a Bitcoin or gold, are they really fiat, or it's a receipt, or it's a token floating around?
Yeah, so then it's just nomenclature, it's like we can call it what we call it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, maybe with some features, maybe some tracking. I don't really know, but they'll be all pegged to a Bitcoin standard.
So Bitcoin as the new gold.
I really strongly feel about it.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. Huh. It's not something that I wish for. It's really something that I believe, because money finally takes up market forces. I mean, finally market forces win in terms of what civilizations choose as money. There are periods which, according to us, might be long, like 1972 to 2019 might seem long to us, but not in in the sense of time and in terms of civilization time.
Yeah, very true. So, what in terms of things that can kind of impede Bitcoin's progress, I recently read that 50, because we've always known that the majority of Bitcoin's hash rate is from China, right? But earlier this week, I read an article that, China, we can put China on one side, but 54% of the hash rate comes from one province in China, which really blew my mind. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is the domination of the hash rate, that it's all in the hands of the Chinese, essentially, do you see that as a problem for Bitcoin in the future?
I don't see that as a problem at all. I mean, that's assuming that China is one entity, but it's not. I mean, I don't care if 100% of the miners are in China. Every miner is an independent entity and is doing it for its own economic incentives. So we wouldn't have this conversation, I think, if 100% of the mining capacity would be in the US, for example. I mean, we just
I think we would.
A little bit more.
I think we would.
So I think I get your point that there increases a chance of maybe the government kind of banning mining overnight, and then what happens to the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think what it'll do is the devil will adjust, and suddenly it'll go dramatically. It'll go down, competition increase, mining will go up in other countries. Mining is, even if all the miners are in a country, they are still doing it only because of economic incentives. And I mean, I have absolutely no problem with that. I think market forces will play out. What I would worry about is if, for example, at some point of time, all the mining chips were kind of getting centralized or being controlled by a single entity, but I think mining as an operation, I don't really care. I think it's a bit of a slightly racist in the way we worry about it. I'm not bothered about it.
I think the main argument that people are using in regards to the hash rate, to such a large portion of the hash rate being in China, is that it kind of defies Bitcoin's decentralization. And I don't really think it's an issue. It's not really an impeding issue, but I think it's more of an ideological issue that, this decentralized currency is largely focused in one geographic area. I think that's more of the question, And I think that's why people have issue with it. I don't think it's because it's China. I don't think it's racism. I don't really think it's banning. I just think that it's theoretically a meteor comes down and hits, that one province in China, and suddenly 54% of the hash rate is wiped out. I think that's the issue. I mean, in my book, I think it's more ideological.
No, I don't. I still don't agree. And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think how to explain why I don't agree with this conclusion. One is that miners are still individual entities. So China is not one organization which controls all the mining. It's like it's different entities within that.
It's very well put.
They are competing with each other. Till they are all competing with each other, and they are taking care of their own economic interests, I'm fine with it. If overnight this one province shuts down, its mining activity,
which will not happen.
This is being taken. Even if it does, this is taken care of in the mining protocol. The difficulty level will adjust. It'll go down. The Bitcoin network will still hum the way it's supposed to. Everybody else will. One thing you kind of said, you would assume is that all the new Bitcoins are being created, and being distributed in then a localized area. Maybe that's another subconscious thing that you think about. Okay. But the fact is that mining, a person chooses to mine Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin on an exchange based on its price. If I'm in India, I can easily buy Bitcoins off an exchange. No miner would mine it at a crazily high price. Yeah. It's available everywhere. So it's being distributed. It originates over there. It immediately gets distributed everywhere. Till you have the power in every place in the world to exchange something of value against Bitcoin equally, Bitcoin is decentralized, and mining is just a very small part of the ecosystem. So I'm not bothered.
That's a very good point. I see what you mean. I don't really want to be taken that these are my views exactly. I just know that a lot of, especially, Bitcoin maximalists are worried about this. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. In terms of Bitcoin adoption and countries, are you one of the people that's really interested for emerging economies such as various African nations and South America? Do you see that as kind of being the, where Bitcoin can really make or break everything? Because I think that's kind of the hot topic of this last year is, the use cases in Colombia and Kenya, Nigeria, Venezuela. That's a big one.
Yeah, of course. This is a no-brainer, right? Since 5 years, I remember the first talk that I gave in 2015. I gave the example of these countries where there's inflation. For me, Bitcoin first satisfies the use as a store of value. So, of course, every country where you do not trust the fiat currency, like the way you trust them in developed countries, the use case of store of value, which is the first use case, has much more. It's of higher importance. And so, in countries like Africa and South America, where the situation is unbelievably terrible. I mean, it is it's a human crisis.
Everything
again.
that could go wrong has gone wrong, essentially, economically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the way that it affects the lives of people for no mistake of theirs, and for something that is not even a natural disaster, it is just insane. It doesn't get the kind of news that it should get. They need Bitcoin more than Bitcoin needs them. I mean, really. So yeah, Bitcoin adoption will actually the store of value. It's very difficult how to measure that, right? Because I mean, the people in the US are richer, so they exchange more fiat for Bitcoin, so they have more Bitcoin. So from metrics which you see on exchanges and all of that, it seems that the adoption over there is more. But over there, the use case is far more important than for an accredited investor in the US.
Yes.
But they don't have access, they don't have the information. We'll see. I think Jack Dorsey, right? Twitter's
CEO.
That's his name, right?
Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, I hopefully he'll do something big with Bitcoin in these, and it needs to succeed in one country, like become really a big hit, and then the floodgates will open.
So I think we're right on the verge of that happening, especially in South America and Africa. Like it's a matter of months, maybe.
Yeah, the problem is with these countries, the governments can also, impede the process a lot more undemocratically, if that's a word, compared to, it's the same thing in India, for example, right? India loves gold. We love gold. I think the maximum percentage of people who buy gold, I think, is in India. We just are gold believers since historically. I don't know whether you didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
India is one of the largest consumers of gold. I mean, not from an industrial purpose, just from a jewelry and a store of value purpose.
Okay.
We inherently understand that value of gold.
Huh.
And Bitcoin was becoming really big, I mean, in India. But the governments which have more to fear from Bitcoin also, and especially in these countries, can stop the process.
Oh, say the last few words, because the NSA got us again.
So I'm saying in these countries also, it's far more easy for the governments to kind of put bottlenecks in the Bitcoin adoption process.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so that kind of plays along, right? Because the government is a far more vulnerable situation, and that's the reason the adoption has not been as high as it already should be.
Okay. That's a good point. I want to ask you one last question, and we're going to be wrapping up because I don't want the CIA, NSA, and all these other government agencies hacking our connection anymore. But as a Bitcoin maximalist, what are your takes on the Lightning Network? Because I know that's something very, very controversial in the space. All of these second layer protocols that are, supposed to aid Bitcoin, but have some security issues of their own. Not a lot of people I think Lightning Network it's pretty divisive. It's a pretty divisive subject, In
my head, I think I'm very clear. I think it's great. It's phenomenal. I love it. Okay. There will be different layers on Bitcoin for different purposes. When you want to do small amounts, when you want to pay for coffee, Lightning is great. If you want to buy a Lambo, you do it on the Bitcoin network. I think more such protocols will come out for different purposes. And I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is the way Bitcoin will evolve. It's fantastic. It makes absolute sense to me. I'm very excited about it. You try and do a Lightning transaction and you'll be blown away, just like the way I was blown away when I did a first Bitcoin transaction. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. Things like chat with Lightning chat and stuff like that. It's again, we cannot even imagine what kind of applications are going to come out with these protocols. And the world is going to be totally different when we start using them.
That's a very good point. You have me convinced. All right, we're going to be wrapping up. Guys, if you want to see more Sunny, subscribe, comment, do everything. And I promise I will do everything in my power to get him sitting in the seat across from me so the NSA can't hack our connection, so we can have a nice, full 2-hour-long discussion about all things crypto. We're also going to be giving away, let's think, screw it. It's Christmas time. So I'm going to be giving away 2,000 CoinDeal tokens, and I will be giving you more information about how to do that. It's going to be on our Telegram group. So that's CoinDeal's Telegram. You can look that up. And I'm also going to give you all the details in the video description below. So stay tuned. Sunny, my man, thank you so much. As always, it's an absolute pleasure. You are a freaking genius. I love talking to you. I love getting your thoughts on all of this, and I hope that you'll be able to come here and we can do this, proper in person.
Love you, buddy. This was fantastic. I'm seeing you soon.
Take care, man. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye-bye.